All right, welcome back. Today, we're going to crack open the absolute heart of Ansible automation, the playbook. Seriously, this is the blueprint that takes all the chaos of manually setting up servers and turns it into something predictable, automated, and, well, kind of beautiful. But first, let's start with a problem that I'm sure is painfully familiar to anyone who's ever had to manage a server, that manual configuration nightmare. You know the drill, right? You need to set up a new web server. So you SSH in, you type a bunch of commands, you edit some config files by hand, you restart a service. And sure, it works, but it's slow. Now, what happens when your boss says you need 10 of those? Or 100? Suddenly, it's not just tedious anymore. It's a total minefield for errors. You forget one command on one server, or make a tiny typo in a config file on another, and poof, none of your servers are exactly the same. And this is exactly where the Ansible playbook comes in as this super elegant solution. Don't think of it as some complicated program. It's much simpler. Think of it like a recipe, a step-by-step to-do list that you write down just one time. Then Ansible, your automated chef, follows that recipe perfectly every single time on as many machines as you tell it to. So if the playbook is our recipe, what do the ingredients and instructions actually look like? Let's break down a real-world example and get our hands dirty. Okay, at first glance, this might look a little like code, but I promise you it's way simpler than it seems. This right here is a complete playbook to get an NGINX web server up and running. It's really just a to-do list. It's saying, hey, Ansible, for all the computers in my web servers group, I need you to do 3 things. 1, make sure NGINX is installed. 2, copy over my special config file. And 3, restart the NGINX service. See, it's just describing the final state we want, not all the messy little commands to get there. All right, let's pull this thing apart and really see what makes it tick. It's the simple language and clear structure that make it all work so well. So the secret sauce here is a language called YAML. And you can see the difference right away when you put it next to something like JSON, right? It's just cleaner. There are no curly braces, fewer quotes, just less noise all around. And that was a totally deliberate choice. The whole point of YAML is to be easy for humans to read first. It means you can just glance at a playbook and immediately get what it's trying to do without getting bogged down in syntax. This diagram here, this maps out the entire structure for you. At the very top, you have the playbook itself. You can think of that as the entire cookbook. Now, that cookbook is made up of one or more plays. Those are like the individual recipes. A play is what connects a group of your servers to a list of tasks, which are just the steps in that recipe. And finally, every task calls a module. That's the actual tool that does the work. So it's playbook, play, task, module. That's the whole flow. Okay, let's zoom in on the top of our NGINX recipe again. This whole section right here, that's the play. It's got a name, which is just for us humans to read. It defines the hosts it's going to run on, in this case, our web servers group. And that become true line, that's just a simple way of telling Ansible, hey, you're going to need admin powers for this, or root privileges. Right below the play, we get to our list of tasks. Each task is one single step in our recipe. It gets its own little description in the name field, and then it calls a specific module to do the actual work. Here, we're calling the package module, and we're just giving it the arguments it needs, like the package name we want to install. Simple as that. And this is where Ansible just shines. It comes with a massive toolbox that's already filled with these modules. The whole idea is batteries included. So instead of you having to figure out the exact command to install software on, say, Ubuntu versus CentOS, you just use the package module, and it figures it out for you. The copy module moves files. The service module starts and stops services. Each one is a specialized little tool for a very specific job. So we have our blueprint. We understand the structure. And now for the really satisfying part, telling Ansible to actually go build it. And that's it. Seriously. It's one single simple command. You just type Ansible playbook and you point it at your blueprint file. That is all it takes to kick off this entire automated process. As it runs, Ansible gives you this live feedback, which is awesome. But I want you to look closely at the status next to each task. You see changed highlighted in yellow and OK in green? That little distinction right there, that's the key to Ansible's real power. It all comes down to this big, kind of scary sounding word, idempotency. But don't worry. The idea behind it is actually incredibly simple and powerful. Before Ansible does anything, it first checks the server's current state. It asks, is NGINX already installed? If the answer is yes, it does nothing and reports back, okay. If the answer is no, then it installs it and reports changed. It means you can run the exact same playbook 1,000 times, and it will only ever make a change if something is different from your blueprint. It's incredibly smart. And this is the payoff. A perfectly configured web server serving up our page, all done automatically and correctly, every single time. No manual steps, no human error, just consistent, repeatable success. But what we've seen so far, that's really just the foundation. Playbooks can be leveled up to handle way more powerful and dynamic kinds of automation. Your playbooks can get a lot more dynamic. For instance, you can use variables so you don't have to repeat yourself all over the place. You can use loops to run the same task multiple times, like creating a bunch of user accounts from a list. And you can get really efficient with handlers. These are special tasks that only run when they absolutely need to, like restarting a web server only if its configuration file actually changed. So the main thing to take away here is that a playbook isn't just a script. It's a reusable, reliable blueprint for your infrastructure. And once you have that blueprint, the possibilities are, well, they're pretty much endless. Which leaves us with one final question to think about. Now that you can build one server perfectly every single time, what are you going to build next?